At you live in the heart of Lincoln, America.
I say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
On air and online at theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Jake Bakoven and Enrique Alvarez Clearing.
Happy Monday to the Ticketverse out there. This is the Ticket Water Cooler here on 93.7 The Ticket. Lots to break down today. Of course, the Final Four is about to be upon us this upcoming weekend, and it looks a lot different than it did last year. It looks a lot different than it ever has before. We'll jump into that. Nebraska football up and running, had one of the biggest recruiting weekends of recent memory, or maybe of all time, this past weekend. So we'll break down that, as well as a little bit of breaking news here and there throughout the day, including Lamar Jackson requesting a trade. He put it on Twitter that he requested a trade March 2nd. Of course, he was given the franchise tag, the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means other teams can already negotiate with him, but that the Ravens would be able to match. He did that, by the way, right before his head coach, Coach Harbaugh, was about to go and meet with the media. So
big brain right
I don't
there.
know if that was a
Attaway Lamar Jackson
shot. I'm not really sure what that was.
Oh, no, he knew. He was like, all right, I'm going to make him talk about me.
Yeah.
But instead of trying to avoid, we put the franchise non-exclusive tender or whatever on him. So, whatever teams decide to do whatever, we can match it. We really want him around, all that talk. But look, I requested a trade damn near 25 days ago, and nothing has happened with that. So,
yeah. Well, and it's fascinating. The whole thing is fascinating because obviously Lamar Jackson, his playing style might turn off some just because he could take it as far as guaranteed long-term money, which is what he's looking for. That's where I mean, if anybody could just rent Lamar Jackson for a year, that'd be great. But he's looking for a big contract here. And that's where the Ravens are having reportedly a tough time coming down to the amount of guaranteed money that he wants. If you're another franchise out there, obviously a trade might work better. If you negotiate with him, you're going to might have to give up some contracts if the Ravens, or excuse me, some first round picks if the Ravens don't pick it up. If you trade with them, I don't know what you would be saving there. You might still have to give 2 first round. I don't know what the trade market looks like for Lamar Jackson, knowing that whoever picks him up would have to pay him a magnificent sum, probably one of the top contracts in the league.
It's gonna have to be a fantastic amount of money to pry him away from the Ravens. Although if he doesn't want to be there, which is what it sounds like when he requested a trade, I understand that he is worth a lot more. But in terms of getting him away from the Ravens to start, maybe you don't offer as much. And then you try to work in some benefits for him for hitting, whatever type of numbers or however many games played, whatever, to get that total up to whatever you want it to be. Hopefully, maybe you can give him that guaranteed money that he's looking for, because you're not going to be able to guarantee an entire contract, especially, you'll have to talk with him about, like you said, the risks that he takes when he runs, the amount that he runs, and maybe it'll be different wherever he goes, but the amount that he runs and the risk that he's running on his body getting injured and missing some time, I think as a team, you might be able to convince him that we can't offer you guaranteed money because of all of the running that you do. But if we can work out a deal in which if you play this amount of games, or if you get this many, passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, we can get this to add up to the total amount of money that you want. Maybe. I don't know how it works. I don't know contract situations. I'm not an agent.
Yeah.
I'm not a general manager.
Right. It is kind of a mess from the outside looking at that, but it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, because Lamar Jackson, obviously former league MVP back in 2019, one of the most electrifying players in the NFL today. In 45-16 as a starter. The guys had a lot of success in Baltimore, and I kind of looked at that in the way that they build their offense. You do kind of change the way you build your offense around Lamar Jackson as you would, most pocket style quarterbacks in the NFL. So, that kind of goes along with it. How quickly could you integrate your offense into Lamar Jackson? But at the same time, we always talk about how the only way to get a franchise quarterback is pretty much to draft him. I mean, you can pick up a Derek Carr in free agency or something like, or Kirk Cousins.
Can that be your franchise quarterback?
And they can't. I mean, they can be. They can be at least, they could be mid-level good NFL franchise quarterbacks. But to the level of Lamar Jackson to be available in the trade market, especially without really any off-the-field trouble, just contract trouble, is very rare. And I can't wait to see who's going to be interested. The Texans, Colts, Commanders, Falcons.
Apparently the Patriots were interested for a while.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know if that. I would love for that to happen.
Absolutely.
I don't see that happening just because they just got Bill O'Brien back to pair with Mac Jones, who they've worked together back down at Alabama. So I don't see that one happening. I would love it to happen. I am immediately getting a Lamar Jackson jersey. But like you said, how often does a former MVP get on the trade market? And this year we have two of them in Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson, both on the trade market. I don't know how realistic the Aaron Rodgers trade is, even though he said he wants to play in New York and whatever. I don't even know if that's actually going to happen. But two former MVPs on the trade market, one entering free agency, possibly with Lamar Jackson. It's just a wild offseason for quarterbacks. And to think that both of those guys, who I know Lamar hasn't played in Baltimore for very long, but seeing him in a different jersey is going to be weird because in the short amount of time that he's been in Baltimore, he's done so much for that franchise at the quarterback position that to me, it just seemed like that was going to be where he ended his career. He spent his entire career and ended his career. I thought he was going to be in Baltimore. So to see this and to hear that he requested a trade back in the beginning of March is just wild. And wondering exactly what the Ravens think they can get for him, because would you trade him or would you just let a team, sign him off of your team? And if you're, let's say you're a GM, are you willing to offer the massive contract and give up the first round picks to sign him? Or are you going to give up the first round picks to trade for him and then work out the contract with him on your own, as opposed to just trying to outbid the Ravens?
Yeah. I don't even know what the best route is. Yet, like you're saying, it's interesting to see which way that turns out. Is a straight up trade like he's requested, or to go about that route. I do know, and I thought this is kind of funny. 8642 says, who else isn't an agent and doesn't know how all that works? Lamar Jackson, who doesn't have an agent.
He doesn't.
It's kind of interesting throughout all this as well.
Yeah, but I feel like he has more people that he can talk to than I have in this short amount of time to determine how much money is out there, how much he can get, how much he can work into whatever contract in terms of it's not stipulations. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but if he hits a certain amount of games played or yards or whatever, he can talk to more people about that than I can. So
yeah, and I have a better idea of where the numbers should lie.
Also, he's been working with he's been getting contracts. He got a contract to start. He's been working with all this stuff, all these numbers, so he knows. I have not. Surprise to many people, I haven't worked with many $1 million contracts before.
Yeah, that's not too surprising to me. But you do feel like
incentives. Thank you, Kelsey.
He might want to get an agent, right? I mean, this seems like a messy situation.
Maybe, but then your agent gets part of your money.
Right.
If you want all the money, you work it on your own.
Yeah.
But this would be probably a good time to get an agent, especially with the trade, requesting a trade, trying to work out a contract with a separate team and Baltimore. This is a lot to handle on top of everything else that he just has to do outside of that, just working out, staying in shape, any type of endorsements that he has, any meetings with the public, anything else that he has to do on top of all of this contract discussion just seems like a lot.
Well, and again, this was not something that has been planned. This is just Lamar tweeting, because this was done right before Coach John Harbaugh went to meet with the press, unprepared for it. So when he did meet with the press, they're asking questions. All he's saying is, we're prepared to move forward with Lamar Jackson, because that's what the statement has been with the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So you wonder, if this tweeting is going to sour a little bit of the relationship with the Ravens, who are holding on to the hope that they can keep him. Or maybe what they're doing is just hoping they can franchise tag him every year, which, I think you can do it at least 2 times in a row. I think there's a rule
Washington,
doing it.
I'm pretty sure Washington did that like 3 years or 4 years in a row with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Before they finally let him walk to go to Minnesota.
And franchise tagging costs you more for that year, but obviously you're not involved in a long-term situation that you're nailed down with. But it also, I mean, the Ravens without Lamar, you mentioned it, you would envision him retiring there, or in the very least playing a long more time there. I don't know what's their next move. Lamar is kind of their offense.
Well, it's Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
That's their backup, right?
Yeah.
He made a Pro Bowl.
He did not deserve to make a Pro Bowl. He made a Pro Bowl throwing 1 touchdown and 3 picks or something.
I think so. Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl. He's a Pro Bowler. You got Pro Bowl quarterback as a backup.
Well, maybe that's why they're making the move.
That's pretty good. I'm just saying. Well, I guess depending on where they trade him or who signs him off of getting those first-round picks, they could. I don't know who. I don't think anybody in the top 5 is going to trade for Lamar Jackson when they can just get their quarterback of the future from this draft. I understand that Lamar Jackson isn't that old. I don't know exactly how old he is. 26 years old. Hey, you still got a couple.
But that's
entering the prime of his career.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of it, though. You're not gambling. You're not saying, I hope that C.J. Stroud or whoever translates to the NFL. Lamar Jackson translates.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot more.
You're paying a lot more money.
Yeah, that's a lot more money, and you've seen it with a bunch of teams in this running for these Super Bowls. Is you get a quarterback on the rookie contract, and then you surround him with amazing talent because you have enough money to do that. But once that second contract comes around for a quarterback, if they've done well enough for you to surround them with pieces, thinking you're just this away from making a Super Bowl, and they've done that well, you're going to have to pay them a disgusting amount of money, which will then lead to maybe not being able to surround them with that much talent going forward. So you always try to win with a quarterback on their rookie contract, or just hopefully you can convince them, a la Tom Brady, to take less money. Granted, Tom Brady had Gisele Bundchen making like all of the money for that family, so it didn't really matter. He could take less money and it was fine.
And he's got a big TV contract.
Yeah, but everybody, the other quarterbacks, they don't really have. I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they have rich wives who are making more money than them. They're probably the ones bringing in all the money. I'm not. I don't know that, but that's what's probably going to happen. So you get that, they get all the money, and then you're not going to be able to bring in 2 or 3 star wide receivers, or fill the offensive line with all pros and Pro Bowlers and give them 2 all pro tight ends and all this stuff. And your defense might suffer because you're not able. So you want to win early with quarterbacks. And Lamar Jackson, although he's supremely talented and I love everything that he does, if he goes somewhere and they pay him what he's worth, they're going to be losing at other positions, unless of course they can figure out a way to convince other people to take less money.
Yeah, it becomes quite interesting too when he leaves. If he does leave to another team, like you said, I mean, the fan base will love it. Within the locker room, it would be kind of weird because he's taking a lot of the money. So I mean, he's going to be worth it though. But again,
would you take Lamar Jackson on the Cardinals right now?
See, that's interesting because Kyler Murray's like
short Lamar Jackson.
Short Lamar Jackson. No, I guess I'd still live with Kyler.
I would take Lamar.
Well, and Kyler just signed a big contract too, so I don't know.
Straight up trade. Kyler for Lamar.
I mean, a trade, yeah.
Straight up trade. Kyler for Lamar.
Yeah, I'll just take Lamar.
You think the Ravens would take that?
Maybe. I mean, because they're in a tough situation themselves.
Good quarterback. I mean, he's coming off a torn ACL, right?
Yeah. He's going to miss a few games this year, and you got to keep him off the video games. But other than that,
maybe they'll just, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see him without Cliff Kingsbury. I do think Cliff Kingsbury's been holding him back,
really?
and holding that franchise back for a few years now.
Interesting. I mean, they have all of the talent. They have big names all over the field.
Yeah. There's less of that case anymore, but they look like they're rebuilding. So I don't even know. That's another part of it. Is Lamar? What does he? I mean, he's young enough. Go to a rebuilding spot.
Well,
I guess.
Somebody on the text line said San Francisco. They just need a quarterback. I mean, they're working with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. I don't think they're looking for a quarterback right now on the market. But if they were, and they went after Lamar Jackson, I think that would be fantastic. Their offensive line is great. They have a ton of weapons. The problem is, I don't know if they can afford it.
Well, again, that's what you're talking about. I mean, if you can get to the NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy and use a 7th round rookie draft pick and just build the roster magnificently around him, maybe that's a better route. And they've proven it. They can go there with Jimmy G, with Brock Purdy. I mean, they've done a very good job of just team building. I don't know if you want to just throw all that away so that you can get Lamar Jackson. But
they picked up Sam Darnold. I forgot about that.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's a long-term plan.
Are you sure?
I don't think so. I think
what is Sam Darnold a next year plan? They don't think that Brock Purdy's going to be healthy. Are they scared that Trey Lance isn't going to be? You've got 2. Sam Darnold's number 1 overall, right?
Yeah. One time.
You're not 2 number 1 overalls, but you've got 2 top 5 draft picks and a 7th rounder in your quarterback room. You've got top 5. You've got 2 top 5 draft picks, and then the very last pick in the NFL draft in your quarterback room.
Yeah. Darnold was the 3rd pick, the 2018 pick.
Okay, so 2 top 5.
Yeah.
I wasn't wrong. I just had to make sure.
I'll tell you that, and that was the same year, by the way, that Lamar Jackson came out. Drafted above Lamar Jackson.
A lot of quarterbacks were.
Yeah, there were. Sam Darnold. Josh Allen makes sense. Baker Mayfield and Josh Rosen, not so much.
Nope. Josh Rosen was taken 10th, right?
Yeah, and he fell.
And he said, I will remember all of the 9 guys taken ahead of me. I'm like, dude, you were taken 10th, all right? Shut up.
Yeah, that quote didn't...
what do you do? I remember all 9 guys taken ahead of me. That's not the same as somebody draft like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
was
if
he
you get drafted 25th or something.
Taken down there. Like, I remember the 24 guys taken ahead of me. Or Tom Brady is like, I remember the, 8 quarterbacks taken ahead of me. That makes more sense than 9 people. Disgusting.
Well, and the team that drafted him 1 year later was like, he ain't it.
You know what? This didn't work.
Us too. Put us on that list.
We'll remember the 9.
Yeah, you remember getting our payback.
We should have taken somebody else.
All right, we'll take a quick break here on the Ticket Water Cooler. Still plenty to talk about the Final Four, big weekend in college, actually for Nebraska football, and just a lot going on. LeBron James went to the LeBron James of Foot Doctors.
Okay.
So we can say if that's okay for him to say that. We'll talk about all that stuff coming up next year on the Ticket Water Cooler, 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Jay Foreman. I wore gear to protect my health on the football field, and I'm protecting it now by staying up to date with the bivalent COVID vaccine. Get up to date while it's still free and stay protected. Learn more at healthylincoln.org.
If you're not sure what your evening plans are and want to change things up, look no further than Craft Axe Throwing. Whether for a date night, an evening with friends, or even a private party, you're sure to make memories at Craft Axe Throwing. Trained instructors help make things easy to understand, and a stock bar makes it a great hangout spot. With 13 throwing lanes, there's plenty of opportunity to reserve your spot today. Choose the Lincoln location at craftaxethrowing.com to book a lane or call 402-802-9696. Craft Axe Throwing at 18th and N.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone again, and with me on the line, Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, I know how proud you and everyone at the dealership are to earn the prestigious Honda President's Award year after year, 17 times. Tell our listeners what it means to you and your customers.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, all of us are extremely proud to have earned this award, and I want all of our customers to know it's not just earned by one person's effort. It's the entire dealership. Sales, parts, and our amazing service department.
17 times. Wow. How does that compare to other Honda dealers?
This award is only given to the most elite dealerships that demonstrate excellence. We really do strive to go above and beyond for the ultimate customer experience before and after the sale, Charlie.
That's why for 2022, Honda of Lincoln is once again Nebraska's #1 volume Honda dealer. Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Are you planting this spring? Make safety your priority. LES requires any landscaping or trees to be planted a safe distance from electrical lines and equipment to give crews safe access. Visit les.com/trees to learn more.
Hi, Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it is Truck Month at Koppel, and we are pulling out all of the stops for this gigantic event. The lots are starting to fill, and we have some great deals for you waiting in Louisville. Brand new GMC Sierra Light Duty and new Silverado Light Duty trucks. All trim levels have up to $4,000 in discounts. That's right, up to $4,000 off all new light duty trucks right now at Koppel. So do not wait. Now is the time to buy a new truck. So stop on in or visit us online at koppelcars.com. You must have a trade-in and finance with Koppel. All deals with approved credit.
When you were a kid, Clubs are cool. Robotics club or space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over. Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Nebco is hiring CDL drivers for Ready Mix Concrete, Husker Concrete, and Beatrice Concrete. Nebco offers great pay, medical, and retirement benefits, paid time off, and we pay for CDL training. Apply today to earn an average total compensation of $50,000 to $60,000 your first year driving. From Nebco's beginnings in 1908, it's the employees that have formed the company's solid foundation. Start your career today. Visit nebcoinc.com. That's NEBCOINC.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on, football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
Meeting your goal of having a healthy diet has never been easier than with the Venue at Home Healthy Living subscription. Chef-inspired meals that are health conscious and delivered right to your door every week. All you have to do is heat and eat. We offer delicious entrees, gluten-free pastas, fresh rice bowls, soups, salads, and more. Build your own package as a subscription to receive meals every week, designed to help you meet your dietary goals. Order your custom healthy meal package today at venueathome.net.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I hope you're having a great Monday afternoon. Start of a good week for you. This is the Ticket Water Cooler here on 93.7 The Ticket. And it will be a good week for us because the Final Four is around the corner and all the Blue Bloods made it. It's just going to be wonderful.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's North Carolina, Duke,
So many
Kentucky,
stars.
UCLA. It's going to wait.
No.
Wait,
Oh, wait,
no. Well, we do have a team from the ACC.
That's right.
We have a team from the. Is there a Blue Blood in the Big East? There's no Blue Bloods in the Big. We have a team from the Big East, though. That's a Blue Blood conference.
Yeah.
In name. We have a team from California.
There you go.
And we have a team from Florida.
That's only lost 3 games all year. That should be one of the top teams in the nation.
Yeah, it's great. Those teams are San Diego State with Omaha South graduate Agueka Rope,
who hit some big shots in that
big shots.
game.
The 2016 state champions. And then FAU, Florida Atlantic, the Owls of FAU. They will face off against each other, a little East Coast, West Coast action. And then on the other side, we have Miami, another team from Florida. Shout out to Florida, stand up. The Hurricanes in the Final Four. And then we have UConn, probably the bluest of the Bloods.
Yes. The biggest name in the teams left. And if they had dominated for much longer. I mean, they've been a great program, not so much the last couple of years. That's why this is kind of a surprise run. But since, the mid 90s or whatever, UConn's been great. It is interesting too. My friend, by the way, has a bracket every year. He does
like
multiple,
an upset bracket.
Well, he does multiple brackets, but every year he does a bracket where UConn wins it all. And I thought, you know what? That's actually pretty genius because UConn just does
every year
come out of no year once in a while and win it all.
Just in case. You should do every year. You should have one that has, if UConn's in the tournament, one that UConn wins it all, and one that Michigan State wins it all.
Yeah,
because they'll come close. They probably won't, but they'll come close.
Actually, just have one that Michigan State goes to the title game. Don't choose them to win it.
Yeah, don't ever choose them to win. Just get them there. Get them there.
Just get them a good run.
It'll work.
But it is.
This is the weirdest Final Four I've ever seen.
It is very strange. I'm gonna have you. We often have you play the guessing game. They of course had the top 25 in the AP poll before this tournament. Where do you think these teams are ranked? We'll start with UConn.
Where were they ranked before?
Before the tournament, yeah. They don't update the rankings, obviously, so it's kind of where they are now. So.
UConn was 15th.
They're number 10.
Okay.
Miami?
Oh, they're lower than 10. They're 17.
Because they are a 5 seed. They are number 16. That's a pretty good guess.
Okay.
How about San Diego State?
San Diego State was in the 20s, I believe. I think they were like 21st.
San Diego State is 18th.
Dang it.
And Florida Atlantic.
They were not ranked.
They were ranked 25th.
They were.
Right ahead of Creighton.
Wow.
Yeah. So all top 25 Final Four. People are acting shocked.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. This is exactly what should have happened.
Yeah. In UConn, of course,
also,
the
Creighton was robbed.
Seed. Creighton, that is a discussion to be had. It was, why were they robbed, do you believe?
Creighton was robbed.
Because of the foul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it was a foul. It was.
Yeah.
Like that. I get that. It was definitely a foul. He grabbed his jersey, he tugged him back. It was a foul. But you don't call that at that moment.
Well, and they weren't calling. It was that they allowed physicality throughout the game.
You're physical the entire game, and then with 1.3 or whatever left, you call that foul. What are you doing? Why? He missed the first one, and I was like, if he misses the second one, like all hell is going to break loose. But he made the second free throw. And, you had the former Aurora quarterback, Baylor Shireman, slinging it down the court. Didn't quite get there, got tipped out of bounds. The clock didn't start when it got tipped.
Yeah.
So that's why it took so long. They took a stopwatch to, time it. And they determined that the game was over.
That was a mess. Yeah, that was not what I surprised. I was surprised when they said, we'll just call it out.
They're like, you know what?
Not do the game.
Nah, it's over.
And I did notice, the clock didn't start as soon as the guy touched the ball. But
it was definitely out on Creighton, though.
It was also out on Creighton.
So there is that.
Yeah.
But just very unfortunate.
Yeah, very strange. And you know what? It's weird because I know a lot of people, and now that they've lost, a lot of people will move back on it too. They've got close enough where you could start to envision, Creighton might do this thing. And if they do,
that would have been so cool.
What does that mean for Nebraska? And I think, and I honestly wish that they made the Final Four because that gives you all, a whole lot more national recognition. They got a lot from this week, and don't get me wrong, but the Final Four is a whole nother level of that. And I just want people to know that Creighton's from Omaha and Omaha's in Nebraska. Like they quizzed Charles Barkley.
Didn't know.
He didn't know.
Didn't know Nebraska, didn't know Omaha.
No. So I think that could have helped out with basketball. But I did find myself rooting for Creighton. I'm a Nebraska fan. I don't hate Creighton like most fans do. I kind of embrace them going to the Big East and enjoy more of a representation from Nebraska, than Nebraska in just a basketball state. So I appreciate that. But I didn't know how I would ever feel if they got this close. And I realized I think I'm going to cheer for. I would like to have a champion in Nebraska for basketball. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd go to the parade.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I wouldn't cheer, but I'd be there. It'd be my first championship parade I'd ever been to.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so I'd go.
Close enough. Yeah.
I'd be like, this is cool. So this is what it's like. Cool. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe someday. But it made you kind of think that, or, where would you stand if Creighton moves forward? And especially if they're playing at FAU, what, I'm not going to cheer for FAU.
No.
Over
Creighton. I get, San Diego State has a guy from Omaha. He went to Omaha South, obviously. So you have that minor connection there. But Creighton is in Omaha. It's Omaha is part of Nebraska. I understand. I get the whole, Nebraska, Creighton, we don't like each other, J-Skers type thing, whatever. But at the same time, it'd be cool to have some type of representation from the state in the Final Four, because having a GWEC in the Final Four, the first time in 37 years that a player from Nebraska from Omaha, I think it's just Nebraska, is in the Final Four. 37, I think it's 37 years.
Yeah.
Back when Kansas had 3 players, including Ron Kellogg.
Nice.
From Omaha Northwest.
The father of the great Ron Kellogg III.
So, yeah, just a thing. It would have been cool to have.
It would have been cool, as Bipolar says, you J-Sker scum, which I think that is the response from a lot of Husker Nation, but it is, it kind of is what it is.
I'm from Omaha. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and you
and I'm also I'm not a Creighton fan, and I'm not really a Nebraska basketball fan either. I will talk about them, and I like to watch them succeed, just like I like to watch Creighton succeed. But I'm a Syracuse basketball fan. I like the orange.
Yeah.
So I'm just out here.
See, I'm a huge Nebraska basketball fan. But at the same time, I just like the sport of basketball to be recognized in the state. So I thought it was cool when they went to Omaha, went to D1 too. I cheer for Omaha if they make the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of guys I mentioned on the text line that they had to make that call. That's really it's just a judgment call. I mean, it was, again, like you said,
they didn't have to make that call. There were multiple other instances during that game where there are clear fouls and they're letting it go because they're letting them play physical. So it is a foul and it should be called, but in that moment, I would rather they not call it, let it go to overtime.
Right.
And somebody in a baseball game's tied, the bottom of the 9, 3-2 count, a pitcher throws a strike to Zampart, call it a ball to not take the game into his head. No, that's completely different.
That's a strike.
That is not the same thing.
Yeah, because that's quite literally, within the frame of baseball.
Has he so in that instance, if it's a ball on the outside that or if it's a strike, if it's a ball on the outside and he's been calling it a strike all game, and then he doesn't call it a strike and he calls a ball, then, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, well, he's been calling it all game. He's not going to switch it up now. But that's happened before where they switched it up. They're like, oh, it's just outside. It's a strike now.
Yeah.
And guess what? Too. Nobody's happy about it.
Yeah.
Except for the pitcher and the opposing team.
Well, and I think too, I just think if you didn't make the call, I don't think we'd be talking about it on national radio today. It's a kind of just a,
because it would have gone to overtime and whoever won would have won.
It's kind of just a slight foul. I mean, it wasn't egregious.
It wasn't.
It was, by the book, a foul, but if you go by the book, there's a lot of fouls. And it just kind of depends on how you're officiating that game. In my mind, again, I'm not going to be too critical of them one way or the other, because I kind of felt like once you got passed up, don't put it in the ref's hands. Don't like kind of bump like. Also, Creighton they had a foul to give, and they gave it with like 4 seconds left to begin with, which I thought was a bad idea in case that very thing happened.
Yeah.
Although it would have been
a shooting foul anyways, but
he would have had free throws. But I still thought, I don't know if I give that foul just in case.
It was I was concerned because San Diego State was on their inbounds play. He ran from the corner up to the top, and I was like, he's kind of taking a lot of time with this.
He had 4 seconds, and he was just kind of walking around.
And then he tried to get the floater in, got fouled, made 1 free throw. Everybody knows what happened, but I don't know, man. I just don't like it.
Yeah,
I just don't like the call, but it happened, and San Diego State's in the Final Four.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people make this comparison too. Dustin H says, would Xavier cheer if Creighton is in the Final Four? Cincinnati? Absolutely not. So it's the same thing. You don't cheer for Creighton. I can see that, but Ohio State, I say this in the kindest way possible. Ohio State's basketball program has a heartbeat. Nebraska is just really, seriously, if Creighton got any sort of attention, it would be the first time for the state of Nebraska to have a Final Four team, or to have a Nebraska in that magnitude. And again, we could talk about the games that really matter, and they're within this tournament. Nebraska's never had a tournament victory. So it's not like, well, I don't want Creighton. Like at one time I would have been like, I don't want Creighton to get to the Elite Eight because Nebraska's never got to the Elite Eight or something. But it's like Nebraska's so far away that it's not like, oh, Creighton's now they're better than Nebraska. They've already kind of surpassed what Nebraska's done in tournament play a long time ago.
And also,
which is nothing.
In terms of that, Xavier, Ohio State, Cincinnati, I don't think they really care. I don't think Xavier really cares that much about Ohio State. Now, if it's Ohio State, Michigan, no, because that's hatred. If it's Alabama, Auburn, no, because that's hatred. That is pure, unadulterated in the state. You are either this or you are that hatred. That is not Nebraska and Creighton. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can hate Creighton. You can hate Creighton if you're a Nebraska fan, Nebraska basketball, Nebraska football, whatever fan. It's not the same. I'm sorry. It's not. That is nobody from Nebraska. If Creighton if Creighton beats Nebraska, nobody from Nebraska is going to go poison a tree on Creighton's campus. Like, that's not like if Creighton threw toilet paper over a tree, nobody from Nebraska is going to poison a Creighton tree. Like, that's not going to happen.
Well, there's just so many divisions in the fan base of like, there's the people that don't care one way or the other. You know, I'm kind of in that fan. Like, I'm not a Creighton fan, but I'll cheer for them a little bit because they're from Nebraska. So maybe a little bit different there, but there's the people that absolutely hate Creighton. Then there's the people that tell you if you don't hate Creighton, then you're not a real Nebraska fan.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, you can't even be like
well,
a moderate.
Yeah. I'm like, well, you're wrong. So that's fine, but whatever.
So, I mean, there's different feelings in it. And I love the Nebraska Creighton rivalry. I really enjoyed Nebraska beating Creighton. I don't know. I'd like to have some sort of connection, some sort of fingerprint on meaningful basketball games in March.
Yeah.
And, you know,
now when Nebraska makes the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, then we can start hating.
Yes, I think that would be when I would start to start.
Until now, and look, I mean this with the utmost respect for anybody that's for the Nebraska basketball program. Until now, it's just jealousy. Until Nebraska gets to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, wins a tournament game, it's jealousy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It kind of is. And I'll be the first one to admit that I'm definitely jealous of Creighton and the run they had, because if Nebraska did it, I would be on top of the world right now. But that's where it is, and would be much more frustrated about that foul call. But that kind of lands where it is. All right, let's take a break here on the Ticket Water Cooler. We got much more to talk about. Busy sports weekend. We'll invite Nick Sandard in again. I don't know if we talked about this. Isaac Trout has entered the transfer portal course. He played at Virginia. Didn't play, actually. Redshirted this past year.
He got hurt in the preseason.
Got hurt, okay. And he was, of course, originally from Grand Island. Said in a statement that he's looking to move a little closer to home, maybe. So that's interesting. Now you get back to that same conversation. Is he talking about Nebraska or Creighton?
Which university is closer to Grand Island?
Interesting. All right. We'll invite Nick in also for the crossover coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club, or space club, and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, burnt pineapple, and mango tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
Sunday morning. It's quiet. Not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to Yum.
And you leave all the empty car lots in Lincoln? How can they survive? Well, they are surviving by charging way too much and making you believe there are no cars available. Hey, this is Carl from Price Right Auto. I'm here to tell you that they are full of bull stuffing. Come out to Price Right in Westo and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our peace of mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on Westo Street at Price Right Auto.
If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, listen up. Select Plumbing gets it right the first variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-6197.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club or space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? No, forget that. How about a margarita club? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge and join the best club in town. 10 flavors of margaritas like Maui Wowie, Burnt Pineapple, and Mango Tango. Try all 10 of them and receive your own souvenir margarita glass. Make it your new Monday night tradition. $4 margaritas and $4 taco baskets. Grab the crew and head on over. Monday nights or any night. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Are you planting this spring? Make safety your priority. LES requires any landscaping or trees to be planted a safe distance from electrical lines and equipment to give crews safe access. Visit les.com/trees to learn more.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back here on the Ticket Water Cooler along with Nick Sainert of Happy Hour, jumping in for the crossover. And the much talked about this thing going around at the Ticket today is if you're a Nebraska fan, were you allowed, now that Creighton is out of it, to cheer for Creighton in the tournament? We kind of gave our thoughts there. Nick, what are your thoughts on Nebraska fans cheering for Creighton, maybe as soon as the Final Four gets? I mean, is there a stop point when you can cheer?
I have a question before you answer this.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Are you Nick?
Sorry, I have a question before you answer this.
What's up?
Does this just apply to Creighton men's basketball? Like, if you're a Nebraska, because I'm guessing it's just football and basketball. Like, that's what people are getting upset about. So if you're a Husker football fan, right, but you're a Creighton men's soccer fan because Nebraska doesn't have soccer.
Yeah.
Does that make you a J-sker? Or if you're a Creighton...
I think it's only men's basketball.
Is it? Like, can you be a fan of other Creighton sports and it's fine?
Like the definition, the official definition of a J-sker would be like a fan of Creighton men's basketball and a fan of Nebraska football.
Okay.
To answer your question, Bach, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't bother me or make me mad when people cheer for a different team other than Nebraska. Like, let's be real. Nebraska fans would love to be in that position. They would love to be in the Elite Eight. They would love to be in the round of 32. They'd love to be in the round of 64. So, like, I personally don't cheer for them. I also don't have any connection to them. Like, if you're somebody that's maybe from Omaha, grew up watching Creighton, grew up enjoying to watch Creighton, you went to Creighton basketball games with your parents, whatever it was, that's great. Like, go ahead, cheer for them because there's that tie. I don't really have that tie. But also, I'm not, like, going to go after someone on Twitter and their family because they feel one way or another about somebody cheering Creighton. And people are passionate. I am shocked. People are passionate about this.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I knew, like, I'm not a fan of J-skers. Like, I don't really care though. Like,
why are you mad that you have more people cheering for your football? Like, they cheer for your football team. They don't cheer for your basketball team. Like, I guess I get it, but at the same time, like, why are you mad that people want to cheer for your football team?
Well, because they're not as Husker as you are.
See, but that's
you gotta be all in.
That's
but
fine.
the thing is, you wouldn't call them J-skers if they were just if they were just Creighton basketball fan. Like, if they didn't, the anger comes from them rooting for your football team.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's weird.
It's strange. I mean, I like the fact. I mean, if you just keep it basketball, I like the fact that the rivalry is heated up enough that people have strong opinions on it. That's what sports is all about. That's what I love about it. But I guess to me, it just gets to a point, and maybe some people on the text line have said this, maybe it's pathetic that just where Nebraska basketball is. To me, I like the state of Nebraska succeeding. I like to see, there was a time when I was a big screw Omaha. I'm a Lincoln guy. And then I went to Omaha a few times and had a lot of fun and decided, you know what, I love Omaha. I think if you're if you like Nebraska, if you want Nebraska to be on the map, you should cheer for Nebraska things. Now, I'm not going to say completely because I understand the rivalry there. So I understand if you're on one side or the other of it. But overall, I think Nebraska is better to embrace Omaha, the biggest city. And I know it's on the border of Iowa and all that, but it's better to embrace Omaha than
Should be the capital.
Yeah.
No. What would they do with the Capitol building?
Move it.
Have been.
Pick it up.
You see a giant crane rolling down I-80 with the Capitol building on it.
Yeah, just hanging up. Just
No. Like
multiple semis.
I'll say this. Like my most, not most.
Careful.
One of the more enjoyable games I went to this year was at Creighton.
Nebraska Creighton.
Was Nebraska Creighton?
Yeah.
Was it because Nebraska won?
I'm sure that was part of it. And I was like, yeah, Nebraska. Yeah, little brother. Creighton's little brother. But I knew Nebraska fans relish in that success back in December because they know where Creighton is going to be in March.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a big deal. If Nebraska was making the tournament or Nebraska was a March Madness team, and I already know I'm going to get flamed for this. If Nebraska was playing in March, they wouldn't care about as much beating up the top 10 Creighton team.
Like they would still care because it's good for the resume to help them get into March.
It's also that in-state rivalry, right? It's alive and well. It keeps it alive and juiced up for the next couple of years because, hey, it's not all Creighton. Or just like, hey, it's not all Iowa. It keeps it juiced up for the next couple of years, keeps fans engaged. That's great. But here's the deal. If you're a Creighton fan, yeah, it sucks losing to Nebraska, but look who just made the Elite Eight. Or it could be vice versa. Hey, you're a Nebraska fan. Yeah, dang, you lost by 10 to Creighton back on December 7th. But, hey, you're in the Elite Eight. Like, I don't know. You take what you can get, I suppose. That's why I just don't get mad about. I don't. It doesn't bother me a whole lot. I understand. Like, there's like, do you want be all in on your team and stuff?
Yeah.
But I would expect that if Creighton had a football team, which they obviously don't, if Creighton had a football team, all the Creighton basketball fans would be in on the Creighton football team.
Yeah.
Or if not, then they're
okay. If that was the thing, then that's weird. Yeah.
Then that's weird.
That's weird.
That's basically like, yeah, I love Texas A&M basketball, but give me Longhorn football every day.
Yeah.
Like that's where it's weird.
Yep.
But UNO doesn't have a football team unless you want to cheer for UNK. Like,
Shout
I
out
don't know.
to UNK. They made a bowl game more recently than Nebraska did.
So I don't know.
I'm not right. That's a fact.
I did not realize how fired up people get about just
cheering for Creighton when they're not even playing Nebraska.
Two other sports. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, but I love it. I think it is showing you that the rivalry between Nebraska and Creighton is blooming. It's getting better.
Also, I'm sorry to interrupt, Bach.
Go ahead.
Like, I respect the crap out of Greg McDermott. Besides all the stuff that happened off the court last year or 2 years ago, last year,
yeah, in the locker room,
yeah, for what he can do for a basketball team, like this team, Creighton went through, and somebody made fun of how the way I say Creighton. I say it weird. I know a little bit, but Creighton, the way like they lost a good chunk of games in a row to where Nebraska was like, yeah, we beat them, but they're no longer the number 7 team in the country.
This doesn't look good,
and it doesn't look as good as, or doesn't feel it like. But here they are, and it's not like they had I don't care what anybody says. I don't ever think there's an easy road in the NCAA March Madness. I never think there's an easy road in March Madness, and this year showed it to where you have FAU, right?
I mean, they had to beat NC State,
They beat
who was
Baylor,
who was a very
3 seed.
NC State was a very popular upset pick. Baylor was a 3 seed, and it wasn't the same Baylor team that in years past, but still a really good Baylor team. I mean, you can say they avoided the 2 seed in Arizona, but they had to play the team that beat Arizona in Princeton.
Like a lot of the March Madness stuff, it goes off of seeding, I suppose. Obviously, like matchups and things like that, because I mean, Marquette's a good example. I think Marquette makes it to the Final Four, to at least the Elite Eight, if they have to play anybody but Michigan State. Michigan State, just like when you talk about matchups and guard play, like when you really get into the nitty gritty and the minor details of it, I think that's when you realize there's no easy path in March Madness.
Mhm.
Like, I get it that Creighton had to face Princeton in the Sweet 16, and you'd much rather face Princeton than
Arizona.
Alabama or Princeton than Arizona. I get that. And we know that 8 times out of 10, Alabama or Arizona is going to beat Princeton. But that's what makes March. That's
Mhm.
what March allows a 9 seed in UConn to go win the national title one year.
Love it.
Or allows FAU, a 9 seed, to make it to the Final Four. Or a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson to beat Purdue. Like, that's just
Yeah.
how March is. And so I don't really follow
Well,
the easy road.
Usually I kind of like that. And there are tougher roads, obviously, for some of these teams than the others. But for a lot of I've heard that easy road thing too. I mean, look at what Miami had to do to get here. They had to beat Drake, Indiana, Houston, and Texas.
I think UConn had a harder road.
That's a tough. UConn's been beating everybody by
I know, but I think they had a harder road. Iona, St. Mary's, Arkansas, and Gonzaga.
Yeah,
I know it's 3 mid majors, but 2 of those are perennial top 25 teams year in and year out. Gonzaga is always like usually a Final Four team or whatever, what have you. But yeah, Miami's road, that was tough. I picked Drake to beat Miami in the first round, so
So did I.
completely wrong.
And once again, like, I don't cheer for Creighton, but I do respect the crap out of Greg McDermott. I do. I mean, I just look at the jobs he's done year after year. He develops guys extremely well. He's put guys in the league, right? And that's a big thing in college basketball. And
takes the local kids more than Nebraska does.
Well,
Omaha
they appeal to Creighton, obviously. Isaac Trout, as much as it's going to pain Husker fans,
he's going to Creighton.
He's probably going to Creighton, right?
He's going to Creighton.
He has a girlfriend that goes to Creighton. So
it's always the girlfriend angle.
So like,
does she play soccer?
I don't know. For some reason, they usually do.
So anyway, but no, it's like there's more appeal to Creighton when you're talking about college basketball. And if Nebraska had a head coach opening, which I'm glad they don't because I like Fred, but if they had a head coach opening, I said it last time it was open, make Greg McDermott say no. You want to talk about also adding more fuel to the rivalry?
Oh yeah,
that would be electric.
Nebraska paying more than Creighton, and like,
or bring Dana Altman back.
Yeah, Dana Altman would be.
I mean, apparently he's done at Oregon.
He's frustrated with Oregon. So
I mean, like, even though I'm sure Husker fans would like, that'd be really interesting. Is like all the Husker fans that hate Creighton.
What do you do now?
What do you do if Nebraska? It won't ever happen though. But because if Greg McDermott ever leaves, I think he'll go somewhere in another conference. But shoot, the Big East is one of the best in the country right now.
But it's interesting too because this Creighton team, and they got the 6th seed and they were moving through the tournament and all. It still wasn't the best Creighton team they've had in the last couple of years, and that's what I find interesting about the tournament too. Is sometimes, like, I always say that about that Duke team with Kyle Singler and all those guys that end up winning. It's like that was like probably the 4th best Duke team in like the 5 years that they were in, and they still won it all. So this tournament can certainly change narratives, and I think it will. Are you guys? I mean, I know like the tournament was fun because you couldn't predict anything, but now that we're down to the Final Four, this is the first one since 1979. There are no McDonald's All-Americans. Coincidentally enough. In 1979, Magic Johnson beat Larry Bird, so that was a pretty good Final Four.
No McDonald's All-Americans.
Just Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
Just future NBA champions.
Yeah.
Hall of Famers, everything.
But are you guys, I mean, and I enjoyed the tournament. I love it, but now that it's down to the Final Four, I'm a blue blood guy. You guys know this about me. I always say college football's better when this team or that team's better. The Final Four last year was Villanova, Creighton, Villanova and Kansas, with Jay Wright's final game, and Duke versus North Carolina with Coach K's career on the line. This year you have FAU and San Diego State, which I don't know if I'd travel an hour to go watch. I don't know what the tickets would sell. I mean, so my point is, are you excited about the Final Four?
Yes.
Are you more intrigued?
I am extremely excited because you're going to have a first time national championship participant in one of San Diego State and FAU, and I think that that's really awesome to get a first time anything in any type of sport. So having the Aztecs or the Owls in the national championship is just electric. And then you've got teams that has Jim Larinaga won a national championship?
No. So it's Miami's first ever. So last year Larinaga took Miami to the Elite Eight for the first time in program history. And then now this year took them back to the Elite Eight, took them to their first Final Four in program history.
So there's a chance. There are 3 options to have a first-time national champion, and then UConn.
Well, so here's what I'll say. I mean, look at mid-major basketball, right? Like this is somewhat of the norm. I think what we're going to see in the future, maybe not to this degree, but this is the norm. Teams can get old quick. They can get experienced quick, and they can allow themselves through experience to maybe compete in March and understand how to handle themselves. Maybe that goes more for a team like UConn, maybe, or a Power 5 team. But I don't know. I think it's good for college basketball because you have an FAU. We might not like it right now, but I think we're going to get used to it, I should say, as fans, because you see a team in like FAU and San Diego State, who are 2 mid-major programs, playing on college basketball's biggest stage. You have a team from the Conference USA and a team from the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Love it.
But see,
I understand you're not seeing Bill Self on the sideline. I get that.
I like when George Mason
also
makes the Final Four run, but then they have to beat like Syracuse or somebody.
Like,
when you have to
but I
beat
get
San
that,
Diego
but think
State
about
to
it.
get the championship game, then it's like, oh, well,
So you're hoping for
but those-
UConn in the national championship. So one of them can.
But no,
I
UConn,
am. I really am.
Even UConn, or like even now, if you were to go to Syracuse, we're starting to see the eras of these coaches kind of come to an end because you have Bob Hurley in his first year at UConn, and he's in the Final Four. And then, but like, even if you were to have Syracuse, you're not going to have Jim Boeheim anymore, and you're not going to have Roy Williams, and you're not going to have Coach K. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's obviously that nostalgia part to it, but also like I'm not worried about seeing Hubert Davis on the sideline right now.
It's the dawn of a new era in college basketball.
But to me, I don't know if like you said, this might be something to get used to. I like, this is what I tell when people say, I just want parity. Well, if this is what you like, then I guess, enjoy it. But this is what parity will bring you.
Yeah. And I'm totally fine with this. It's great. This is a direct result of
Xavier is in his first year. The Xavier coach is in his first year.
Sean Miller.
Sean Miller is in his first year. Dan Hurley is not.
Bobby Hurley.
I get him mixed up.
Bobby's in Arizona.
Bobby's in Arizona State.
Dan Hurley.
Dan Hurley's at UConn.
This is a direct result of the
Travis.
3 things that people have been freaking out about: the transfer portal, NIL, and that extra COVID year. This is a direct result of that because you've got guys at these schools who have been there for multiple years. You've got guys transferring in. Nigel Pack transferring to Miami via the transfer portal for NIL reasons, and now Miami's in the Final Four. Like this is a direct result of that. And as Bach said, this is probably going to be the future of the sport, just because you're going to have guys transferring all over. NIL is going to be a huge deal to get people everywhere, and parity is going to be rampant. I don't know if you're going to see what Duke did with that Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish class where they got the top 3 recruits to go to one school. I don't know if you're going to see that anymore.
Well, and if you do, again, I think if you do, then it's good. Charles Barkley was on, I think it was 60 Minutes or something, talking about how NIL and all this stuff's going to ruin college basketball because only a handful of teams are going to be able to compete and all that stuff. And I say, well, thank God, so we can have the upset return. I mean, these were fun, but there was just going into this tournament, nobody really had anybody to pick. I mean, you could choose one of the number 1 seeds, but nobody was like an overwhelming favorite. Nobody was great in college football this year. I do, so that when the upset happens, it's magnificent. It's not.
How is there not an upset though this year?
I think the 1 seed upsets still carry a lot of weight.
They do, but Purdue, we know.
Purdue has Purdue has the more than likely
player of the year and Zach Edey on their team, and they lost to a team whose tallest player was 6'8".
But how many people were picking Memphis over Purdue in the next round is my point. No, how many people picked Purdue to win the championship?
Well, that's just because Purdue lets everyone down.
Exactly.
But Alabama has, one of the more athletic teams in the entire tournament. Houston, if their point guard doesn't get hurt before the tournament even starts and they lose in the AAC championship game, Houston is probably the number 1 overall seed.
You can say that about but you just named 3 players off that Duke unit. Name 3 players off Houston.
I can't.
Alabama.
I can't.
Brandon Miller's the only one.
That's my point. And I'll go back to my childhood. Everybody does, but the early 2000s, they're just like college basketball was stocked with like juniors and seniors,
but I think it was so unbalanced.
Yeah, that made the upsets incredible. Like you could,
but there were never any upsets.
There were upsets.
No, there were upsets.
They were huge.
Like not. You still this year just showed that whether or not you have household names on the Duke team that lost to Mercer, or this now Princeton team that beat Arizona, whether or not you have household names, 15-2 upsets can still happen. Whether you are a team that won the national title the following year after losing to a 16 seed in UMBC, if you're Virginia, it can still happen. Like, those upsets are still just as intense and as wild, whether or not it's whether you have household names or not. I think that's where it's the seeding comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to see this differently, one way or the other. I mean, to me, this
I think
it's good to have one of these.
Basketball.
Well, and I think this is the 2007 year, if you translate to college football or college basketball. This is just craziness. You can't tell what's going to happen.
Nothing makes sense.
And I think it's good in, maybe a 1 year sample. I don't know if it's great for the long term of the sport, but we can debate that later. Happy hour coming next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is